first you gotta watch this, you know. Okay, now I gotta wash my hat, man. You know, so much salt in the air. You see the salt from the sweat? You know, like I had to give me a couple of spares, man. I'm gonna order a couple of these, you know. I think the flight schools would probably get some and give them out, man. That'd be pretty cool, right? Now check it out. I want to tell you something about salt and the salt air, you know. A lot of people didn't know this, you know. But your body tries to get rid of salt. And some of the scientists had some really bad ideas, you know. And then some of them had some good ideas, you know. So, you know, here it's neither here nor there, you know. But, you know, if you're going to go fly a plane, you get way up there in the atmosphere, man. And sometimes it might be hot. So you're going to open up your windows and let that hot air in, man. And, you know, with it closed, you know, some of the planes, they have air conditioning. And you're like, oh, man, thank God. And some of them, they don't have air conditioning. So you open up the windows, you want to cool off, and you know, and a lot of people don't know about technology. It's like, you know, air conditioning, you know. And what happens, you know, last year I sat at an Italian restaurant and I set a cup on the counter. You remember I set a cup on the counter? I said, look at this, you know, condensation, and it was sinking down, you know, because what was condensating through the glass? Well, you know, the cold, you know, the cold and the hydrogen was collecting, okay, with the oxygen on the outside of the glass at a different temperature. And when they meet, just like at a weather cold front and a hot front, at different pressure consistencies of the glass and the wall in between, you know, it makes, you know, rain and stuff, you know, kind of how the rain system works and barometric pressures and stuff. But anyways, I showed you that the fog coming off the glass was sinking, which means it was oxygen rich, okay? If it wasn't oxygen rich, then the fog would have been floating up like evaporation. So up in the high altitudes, not a lot of oxygen. But, you know, mediocre, you could kind of have, you know, oxygen. You open the windows, you know. And, well, you know, didn't know that in the past. The World War II planes, some of them crashed because of asphyxiation. They couldn't breathe, you know. And they told those people, keep your mask on, keep your mask on. But it's hot, man, so they took them. Boom, you know, they crashed. And they says, well, maybe the enemy shot them down. And he says, no, they didn't have the education and training. Okay, so now we're going to tell you about the desert, you know. Just like a pilot got to stay, you know, oxygenated, you know, and, you know, plenty of water and fluids, you know. They say, well, you know, they go out there and they say, well, in the desert, they were giving them salt tablets to try and remind them to drink water. I'm like, are you kidding me? Or they not pay attention? You know, they were trying to take some of the Navy submariners' technology and they didn't understand it. When you're out in the ocean on a boat in the salt water, they tell you, don't drink the salt water, it's bad for you. Here they are in the desert giving them salt tablets to remind them to drink. You've got to be kidding me. It's like, well, you know, if you would have salted the earth, but you lost your seasoning, your water, you might dehydrate. It's a bad idea, you know. So anyways, so let's get hydrated with some wisdom, you know. So I try to tell you, if you're going to go fly, be hydrated. Because here's the other thing a lot of people don't tell you, you know. You know, when the FAA gets together and they're like, hey, we need to update some of our schools and our classes, man. We need to talk to the military. And the military is like, man, we already tried that. I said, well, let's talk to the civilian air patrol, man. They talk to civilians, man. They're like, oh, man, you got any of those military brats around, like those genius kids? They says, yeah, okay, we'll get some of the charter kids together. We'll get the charter kids talking, and we'll upgrade everything. He says, okay, because, you know, we got a lot of information for the flight stuff. We got a lot of information for the students and the pilots. And we got like a little bit of information for the instructors, man. And some of those people, they're like, man, I've been teaching this stuff forever, man. Why don't I get the updates? You know, it says, well, we give it to everybody. And then they go, man, they can fix all their schools. Well, let me tell you the part that they leave out. They tell you to drink plenty of water. And out in the desert, they're giving the people on the ground salt tablets. They don't know what they're doing, man. It's like, just trying to tell people to drink water. Why? Because there's a difference between humid heat and dry heat. And after all these years and all this science and all this technology, people can't see the common sense of particles in the air, man. You forgot about that. So when wind blows, they go, when you're on a boat in the ocean, you can burn faster than anywhere else. And they go, why is that? Well, you don't burn faster in fresh water, you burn faster in salt water. Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, why don't we think of that? And he says, well, when the wind is hitting your body and you're in the heat and it's humid, you sweat to cool off. If you're in dry heat and the air is hitting you, you go out there, you see a truck driving down in one of these dry heat areas, and all the forestry is brown and dried up and dying, but right next to the road, you see you got some green stuff growing. And it's like, because when the trucks pass in opposite directions, it creates a short distance of humidity so that those plants right there next to the road get better humidity than the rest of the plants out there in the field. And we go, oh, well, it's the same thing with education. Education, some of those people close to the technology get better education than the people out there in the field. And that's the problem. So we say when they're in those planes and they're flying, they got to keep hydrated. Why do they got to keep hydrated? Because if it's hot and you open up that canopy and let that wind in, well, it creates humidity when it hits their skin. Then it starts bleeding all the humidity out of their body. Just like when you get hot and you got to shed the salt. You know, you're the salt of the earth, man. You got salt in your body. That's why you got to pee. You know, you go pee. Don't you got to pee? To get rid of the salt. So if you're hot and it's not humid and it's dry and the wind is blowing on you and you're flying through the sky and you're dehydrating, it's because nobody told you about science. Leave the canopy shut, or if you're going to open it up, make sure you got plenty of liquid to drink. Or you'll get dehydrated, you'll get tired, you fall asleep, you crash the plane, and then they go, oh man, we didn't tell them that. Well, we can't tell them, we forgot to educate them on that. We can't tell them it was a flaw in the design, just blame it on some other country and we'll start a war. Stupid, okay? So no retaliation, it's all truth today. Let's go check out a cool simulator, because we got a cool Sterling Flight Training Center with a first-class careers, man, in aviation. Because let me tell you how it really works, all right? All right.